time is 7:30. I'd like to call this regular Board of Education meeting in order. Could everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming this evening. Before we get started, I just want to take a moment to recognize our new student representative, Lexi Zimnock. Welcome, Lexi.
Hi, Lexi.
And thanks for joining us, Lexi. We're really looking forward to hearing from you and reports on what's happening in the schools. Mr. Epicelli, did you want to say a couple words about Lexi?
Sure. Are you giving me a time limit?
1 minute.
Do I push it down or up? I can never remember.
Up.
Up. All right, so it looks like it was on. Lexi was interviewed at the end of last year, and she did such a great job, in terms of identifying what she wanted to do with this role and how, we've made a lot of inroads into the other schools and making connections with the other schools, and she was so on board with keeping those connections and wanting to, bring perspectives from all the different, kids in the district. So we were really happy, and we look forward to a great year. How's that?
That was awesome. Great. Thank you so much. We're so happy to have you, Lexi. All right, we have some additional recognitions this evening. Number one, our new hires. Mr. Gonzalez, could you tell us about that?
Yeah, welcome everybody. It's nice to see everybody in the audience. Appreciate you being here. So since our last meeting, we obviously welcome back staff and students, and one of the exciting things we get to do is hold our convocation exercises. We welcomed in a lot of new teammates. They are not here tonight, but I think it is worthwhile and my pleasure to introduce them all. So we have Ashley Scanlon, who is an LPN at the middle school, Patricia Cady, special ed teacher at the high school, Sarah Manfrey, math teacher at the high school, Sal Magnano, ASD teacher at the high school, Emily Zatowski, special ed teacher at the middle school, Caitlin Jenkins, SLP at the elementary, Jordan Como, social studies teacher at the middle school, Shiloh Forwerda, paraeducator at the elementary school. Kim Glazier has come back to the district and is currently teaching chemistry at the high school. Haley Bender joined us at the elementary school as an admin assistant. Madison Doucette and Kelsey Kono, two Lyman graduates, now bookend our schools as the nurses at the elementary and high school respectively. Kristen Raymond, paraeducator at the elementary school. Joel Krasinski, English teacher at the high school. Aaron Gilberto, school counselor at the middle school. Addison Kohler, whose first day was just this week, district-wide occupational therapist, and Deborah Hunter, a custodian at the elementary school. We are happy to have them all. I would like to add, one of the things that the leadership team and I are really doing is trying to make sure people are feeling supported in their transitions, reaching out and checking on them. So before I left for the weekend, I sent every single one of the new hires in the district an email to personally thank them again for joining our team and for being here, let them know I appreciate them, and to offer support. Each and every one of them emailed me back, which meant a lot to me. And there's one email that I want to share that kind of summarizes all the thoughts and words I got back. It says, "Thank you for reaching out to me with your support. That seems to be a common thread in the culture of Lebanon. The staff and students have been great, making me feel welcome, filling me in with school policies and showing me around campus. Not a day goes by without one of my students thanking me at the end of class and wishing me a good day. At the open house, I had the opportunity to discuss curriculum with parents and how we could work together to make it meaningful, relevant, and useful to their child. They comment, one student even came and FaceTimed with a parent who couldn't be there so that they could meet me. Last night at the girls' soccer game, I cheered their victory alongside a group that had no student athletes playing. They were there decked out in bulldog blue out of pride for their school and community. What a fantastic way to celebrate 100 years of community and education. I'm happy to be a part of the Lebanon school system." So, not only are we extremely happy to have those new teammates on board, to hear that they're feeling that way about our culture and the climate that we promote in district means a lot to me.
Absolutely. And we want to welcome all of our new staff as well and invite them to join us at a Board of Education meeting so we can meet them. Great. All right, now we have some special recognitions, right, Mr. Gonzalez?
Yeah, also at Convocation, we get to recognize some special accomplishments across the district. This group of individuals was recognized at the end of last year. Once their nominations were made official, they were recognized at Convocation. But because it's such a special thing, we'd like to formally recognize them here at the Board of Education meeting. We thank them for taking their time out of their busy nights to join us. The first person I'd like to congratulate is Jen Olson. Jen is our LES Teacher of the Year. So I'm going to read a little bit of what was shared at the convocation. Jen has been teaching for 21 years and has taught in the multi-age second, third, and fourth grades. Jen is currently our STEM teacher and has worked tirelessly to build the STEM curriculum at LES. During the height of the pandemic, Jen was a resource for staff and students for technology and professional development. She created fun classes such as Chromebook Boot Camp, and staff members could find Potty PD in our bathrooms at LES. During the past 2 summers, Jen worked to create engineering units for pre-K through 4th grades. In addition, Jen leads our students in morning announcements, which I love to participate in, extra STEM lab and makerspace time, keyboarding, and is our SBAC testing coordinator. Jen inspires our students to be inventors and has led the ever-popular successful invention convention at LES. This past year, under her encouragement, 6 of our students were invited to the Connecticut Invention Convention, and 1 student was invited to the National Invention Convention. Jen, thanks for all you do. Next, I'd like to recognize Amy Reynolds, who is the Teacher of the Year at the middle school. Amy has 18 years of service with Lebanon Public Schools. She is the 5th grade science teacher at the middle school. Along with her classroom duties, she's always willing to go above and beyond and has served as a 5th grade team leader, student council advisor, school climate team member, track coach, and more. Amy enjoys crafting and has led numerous after-school crafting clubs over the years. Thank you, Amy. And last but not least, Julie Lake is our Paraeducator of the Year. Julie was hired in district in 2008. Since then, she's been an integral part of the preschool team, taking leadership roles within the classroom, assisting with the screening process, helping achieve NIAC accreditation, and having an excellent rapport with her students and parents. A parent noted in the nomination that Miss Lake is always right there on the floor with at least one kiddo in her lap, and it doesn't take long to notice how much the kids love her if you were in that classroom. And Mrs. Brochu, who is the cooperating teacher that Julie works closest with, has said, "Julie has been my instructional assistant for the last 3 years, and I cannot be more impressed with how she positively impacts students and staff on a daily basis." Thank you, Julie.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. I'm not sure, would you mind standing, Mrs. Olson and Mrs. Reynolds, and Julie, would you mind just waving so everybody can see who you are? Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right, so our first student recognition of the year, and you can look to see her in our student spotlight. That will be a part of my superintendent update. She doesn't know that that's coming out yet, so I don't know if she's going to be excited about that. It goes to Aria Noasad. Aria is a 12th grader at Lyman. Aria takes pride in her academic performance while also contributing to our athletic programs. She's participated in 3 years of volleyball and is also on the tennis team. She really enjoys art and music as well. She has already taken 4 AP classes at Lyman, and she's currently enrolled in 2 more. On top of that, she's taken Japanese at Eastern Connecticut State University, and this summer she took music theory and psychology at ECSU on her own. Aria is being recognized at our Board of Education meeting tonight for receiving the National Rural and Small Town Award. In order to be eligible for this award, high school juniors must have a GPA of 3.5 or higher, must have a permanent address in the United States. That's an easy one, I think, for her. And must have taken the PSAT 10 in the spring 2021 or the PSAT NMSQT in fall 2021, or at least 2 distinct AP exams in 8th, 9th, or 10th grade. Additionally, sophomores and juniors are score eligible if they're in the top 10% on those assessments and within the program by state eligible exam periods. Sophomores and juniors also score eligible if they have 3 or higher in 2 or more distinct AP exams. So there's a lot that goes into this, and she passed all of them with flying colors, and we're happy to celebrate her today. Aria, I'd like to present you with a certificate for being a critical thinker here at Lebanon Public Schools. Mine, Mrs. Singleton can take your picture in front of the background over there.
Congratulations, Aria.
Congratulations.
Okay, that will bring us to our communication. We do have some letters of retirement to discuss.
All right, the reading continues. So tonight, I get to share that we have a letter of retirement from Principal Laskarzuski. So Rob had shared with me just earlier last week of his plans to retire at the end of this current school year, effective June 30th, 2023. He did so in providing the district with ample notification as we get ready to go into budget season and understanding the hiring implications this will have, as it's an extremely important position in our district. He says it's been his pleasure to serve the community of Lebanon. The middle school staff, students, and families make for an awesome community, and he wishes everyone continued success. He's looking forward to the next chapter in his life at the homestead in northern New York, and he's going to cherish the memories he's made in Lebanon. Rob, from me to you, and I'm sure I speak for everybody, thanks for all you have done. And will continue to do until June 30th. All right, now on to some letters of resignation. This one was actually something that was submitted via email earlier in the summer. We wanted to make it official here at the board. This letter of resignation comes from Kristen Franson, who was the high school nurse. At the time of her resignation, she did not feel that the salary and contract terms were commensurate with the other professionals employed in the school district, and she wanted to let us know that she hopes we'll work to rectify that in the coming year, but she does wish us luck this year. I would just like to thank her for her years of service caring for staff and students at Lyman, and especially over the past couple years as we've created and implemented the Safe Return to In-Person plan, which she was an integral part of, and how she worked to help mitigate and stop the spread of COVID here at the high school. So thank you, Kristen. Next letter is from Lexi Papiti. Alexandra was the occupational therapist for Lebanon Public Schools, and she wrote this letter with a heavy heart, she said, because she sincerely enjoyed her time here. She's been fortunate to develop clinical skills from the guidance of well-established clinicians and learn more about the therapeutic use to further grow and support the students that she's worked with. She deeply appreciated the time that's been provided to her in the last year. However, she's moving on to further her professional and personal life in a full-time position. But she says that she hopes in the future we'll have opportunities to collaborate again, and we wish Lexi the best. The next one is from Carlos Rivera. Carlos was a custodian at the elementary school for the past 4 years. He said that he has met some great people during his time. He's going to miss the teachers, and he'd like to thank them for the love and support they have showed him. He accepted a lead custodial position with the state of Connecticut. Holly Davis is our next resignation. She was a paraeducator at the elementary school. She wants to thank everybody for the great opportunity and the positive impact that her time here has had on her life. She did give a personal thank you to Mrs. Corso for always having a kind word and a wonderful smile every day when she saw her in the halls. She does want to wish the staff, the students, a fantastic year and the best for everybody at LES. The next resignation is also from LES. It's from Stephanie Roberts, who serves as a special education teacher at LES. She also said it has been a pleasure working in the district and that she will forever treasure the relationships and the things that she has learned in her time here. She appreciated the opportunities and wishes everyone in our public schools the best. Next resignation is from our 8th grade science teacher at the middle school, Stephanie Brown. She thanks us for the opportunity and wishes us the best in the future. And our last resignation for the night is from Taryn Olin, who is the middle school administrative assistant. With great sadness, she submits a letter of resignation to us. Her last day will be Friday, September 30th. She's going to miss both the staff and students greatly.
Thank you very much, Andy,
welcome.
for that. All right. At this point in the agenda, we'd like to have our public participation. Due to the bylaws of the Lebanon Board of Education state that the Board of Education will allot up to 30 minutes, with 2 minutes for each member of the public who wishes to speak. Barbara, would you like to speak to us this evening? Come on up and go ahead and make sure that microphone is on.
All right, we had an awesome weekend. I am exhausted, you can tell. We had about 200 alumni, and that doesn't include administration, family, people for the games, probably 400 people at least. But we had an awesome weekend, and I just want to present, well,
Want to walk around with it?
yeah, we're going to show you, we have a proclamation from the town of Lebanon that the selectmen presented to us at our ceremony. And then we had a number of recognitions that we had displayed. First of all, from Miguel Cardona, the Secretary of Education. He wrote us a letter. We have a letter and certificate from Senator Richard Blumenthal. We have a letter and certificate from Joe Courtney and Christopher Senator Murphy. Senator Murphy wrote us a letter, and we also have a certificate from the Secretary of State.
Wow, that's fabulous. Where will those be? Do we know yet?
We will probably put them in the display cases between the doors once those
Everybody can see them when
other
they walk in.
displays go down.
Awesome.
Yeah, so,
Any questions?
You know,
Oh, sorry, Sean.
I have to say, like, I can't imagine, you have no idea how much time Barbara put into this, you know, this whole weekend, and it's not done yet. We're still meeting. We have plans for, we're going to be meeting on the 27th.
7th, yeah.
So there's still things that this community, this committee wants to do for the students here. So, you know, there a lot of time and effort, and I can't tell you how many hours Barbara put in on this, and it was such an awesome thing for to see. Like, our students, you know, were telling me that when they were giving tours, they found it, they just loved the communication that they had with all the alumni that were here, and telling them, you know, alumni that, you know, graduated from the middle school, which, you know, the high school then, and the other school, you know, walking them around Lyman, talking about Lyman, you know, there was a lot of pride just from our students here. And, you know, meeting alumni from like Washington State or, you know, Arkansas and Kansas, you know, people coming back because it meant that much to come back here. It was really awesome.
Yeah, that's all I can say. It was awesome. Yeah, so.
I got to be there too, so did Mr. Gonzalez. It was lovely. I mean, I can't say how many times I thought to myself, only in Lebanon, you know, only here, you know, I mean, the pride that the alumni have for, you know, coming back, looking in the cases, just talking about their time in high school was so neat to see.
There was a slideshow display that was running in the atrium, and then on Sunday we brought it down to the cafeteria for the breakfast, and you know, seeing people point out like, oh yeah, you remember that guy right there, and you know, it was really fun to watch that.
Right, and we'll be putting that out probably next week so that everybody can access it. It's a YouTube video, so we'll be able to.
Awesome. Go ahead. I'm so sorry, this public participation,
I
we're
know.
breaking
Yep.
all of the rules, but go ahead.
I apologize, but
No, it's okay, go ahead.
I attended all day Saturday and a little bit of Sunday, and I am not a Lyman grad. And I just wanted to say that I enjoyed every minute of it. I thought it was amazing. I love local history, so it appealed to me. All three of my boys got to play baseball together, so that was a highlight for my family. But My sister and my parents, who are also not Lyman grads, came and thoroughly enjoyed it. I think you did an amazing job, and like Jay said, hours and hours of planning. And I don't think there was anything that wasn't thought of that you missed. Jay and Sam, you were great also, so I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's great. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by John, seconded by Maureen. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Let's see our student representatives report.
I hope that's on. Okay. So I'm going to start with the elementary school and then middle school and then do the high school. So in the elementary school, 46 students completed the summer math challenge, which was double from last year. 150 students participated in the summer reading, and they read approximately 3,600 books, which I thought was pretty amazing. I was also told that currently classrooms are mostly working on community building activities, and upcoming we have an open house on September 29th and picture day on September 26th. In the middle school, fall sports, cross country and soccer have started, and they have a book fair all week. Picture day was today, and they gave tours at the middle school for 100 years. They have an open house tomorrow, the 14th. They have a Panther Den coming up on the 23rd, and the Lebanon Junior Honor Society induction is on September 22nd. At the high school, upcoming, we have homecoming, which is in October, and then the fall play happening in November. And then also fall sports have started. These sports records may not be completely accurate because there were a lot of sports events going on today. So, cross country had their first meet on Saturday the 9th, and they have another meet tomorrow. Girls soccer is currently 4-0, and they had a home game today. It's probably still going on. Boys soccer is 1-1, and they have a game today. Volleyball is 1-1, and they had a game. And so we also had a open house block party happened on September 8th. The fall play, and then there were none. Rehearsals started yesterday. And Lyman's 100 years was so successful, okay? I just want to share some of my highlights. I thought it was super cool that one of the alumni that attended graduated in 1942, which is so cool. Some alumni came all the way from the West Coast. And then tours were given at the middle school, the high school, and at the Ag Wing. I gave tours myself, and the alumni were so enthusiastic about everything. Like, I had to go off script a couple times because they were just asking, like, great questions, and, like, everyone had so much Lyman pride. It was just so awesome to be around all of them. The alumni band and chorus concert went great. It was so awesome. I was so happy to be a part of it because so many people came back, and it was the first time they'd picked up their instruments in like years, and I thought it sounded great. There's alumni sports events like a baseball game. Over 400 people registered to come to this celebration, and there was a great turnout because even though there could have been more people, I feel like we got so many enthusiastic people who had so much Lyman pride, and I thought it was really wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lexi.
Of course.
Any questions? No?
If you guys don't mind, I think I'm going to leave if this is an appropriate time.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lexi. Nice job. All right, that will bring us to our reports of the committees. So why don't we start, Dawn, safety and security, no report, right?
No meeting.
Okay, Danelle, you have a big report.
So I have a huge report. We met tonight at 6:30. Rita and all of our staff have been extremely busy, and just want to highlight things because there's just so much here. The most important or most significant one to me right now is that our website is live with our curriculum listed. If you go on our LebanonCT.org website, you will find a tab specifically for curriculum instruction, and there is so much to see there, hours and hours. You can just click from here to there and see what's going on at each level. So that was a board goal at our retreat and also several years ago, and it's done. So I want to thank Rita for all that work. That was really awesome. Second is the curriculum cycle review that we'll be going through every 3 to 5 years. Let's see. So Rita gave us a paper with a schedule for all the subjects and when they will be reviewed, presented, and implemented. And this is subject to change based on standards that the state gives us, which are constantly changing, it seems. And next, we talked about some of our new initiatives. I asked her for an enrollment update on the new courses. So turf management has 2 sections. One has 13, one has 7. The drone course has peaked out at 9. The nutrition, foods, and sports class has 16 in it, and the PE Lifetime Fitness has 13. The CNA course did not go this year because we didn't have enough interest to run it. But Jay is working hard already to figure out how to promote it better for next year, making more publicity, but it also gives us more time to figure out the budget of it. And also, he found out we can have other students besides seniors in it, so there's a much bigger population to pick from for that opportunity. Next is the Seal of Biliteracy, which is something that Rita heard about from, I think, a relative's graduation ceremony. Let's see if I can find it. Basically what it means is it's another kind of award that a student can get if they excel in English and another language. So biliteracy, it would be something that would appear on their diploma. It's something they could put in their resume, and it's an excellent achievement, an excellent goal for them to continue in world languages because we're kind of sparse in the area right now, and obviously to achieve in English as well. So Seal of Biliteracy is something we'll be starting this year, right? She also talked about the STEM and ISTE certification. IST stands for the International Society of Tech Ed. We had 3 teachers attend that. That was Mrs. Noah at the high school, Mr. K at the middle school, and Mrs. Olson, our teacher of the year. All tech teachers attended that. And our STEM at the elementary school, do I have it here? They already have a Art in the Dark set up. Sorry, I can't find it, but anyway, there's an Art in the Dark set up for October to encourage more STEM activities, art. Now I'm getting confused, my notes,
It's not
sorry.
Art in the Dark. I think it's just a STEAM activity. It's on the second page of that top one
I
that you
thought it was
have.
here, okay.
Yeah, right there. Is it right there? No.
No, that's not it, but anyways, there's a lot going on with that too, so that's great. Let's see. We also asked Rita if she could give us a brief data presentation about some of our scores because we have the budget talks start in October and we don't want to get too far behind. So we had a very long discussion about it actually because we got some very encouraging data, and I would kind of like Rita to say it for everybody if you don't mind because it's such great news. Okay, is that appropriate? Or just like two sentences. We're going to have a full, okay, she doesn't want to say. We're going to have a full data presentation at our next meeting in October, but for now, we had a packet given to us that shows some of our scoring for the SBACs and for NGSS. Is that right? And comparing our school to other schools in New London County, I'll just give you a faraway picture of it, this graph here. These are all the schools in New London County. And the ones that are this way are positive growth, and all these here are negative growth since 2019, so pre-pandemic to now. And Lebanon is one of the top 3 for growth. We're way over here. And this is amazing news because, I mean, this is just poor growth, no growth at all, but ours are showing increased growth and performance, and it's really encouraging. So I want to thank Rita, I want to thank our administrators, our staff for working so hard, for using the ESSER funds that we provided for them to get new staff, to help out with I can't say learning loss, right, Andy, to help with acceleration of learning. So this is just a taste of what is to come, but this is awesome. This is so encouraging. So that's another part of our data update. Then she gave us a professional development recap. A lot of exciting things happening there with PE standards, the Science Center visits, phonics, iReady, and a highlight was Scarlett from Sandy Hook Elementary, the mother. She came to one of the PDs, and she's from the Choose Love program we have. So that was an absolute surprise for them, but extremely inspirational and encouraging to the staff that was here. And our next meeting is in October with a full data presentation, grant updates, and potential new course proposals.
Thanks, Danelle.
I didn't do anything except try to recap it all. So
That was good. No, does anybody have any questions?
I'm very excited, as you can tell.
That's great. Thank you.
All right.
John, Superintendent Eval.
Our Superintendent Eval Committee met this afternoon, and Superintendent Gonzalez shared with us a very comprehensive set of goals and indicators, and we're hoping to share them with the full board, perhaps at the next full board meeting.
Great. Questions? Awesome. Thanks, John. Alexis, negotiations.
Negotiations are in full swing for all of our non-long meetings.
Okay, Maureen, policy.
Policy met, we addressed 4 policies. One will be for a first reading today, and one will be for us to discuss openly as a board. The other 2 are tabled for further discussion.
Thank you. And we will, that is on the agenda for us
Correct.
this evening. Thank you, Maureen. Nicole, Finance and Facilities.
Finance and Facilities met last Tuesday on September 6th. The first thing we discussed was the capital list for facilities. We organized them by priorities of how we're going to use the remaining funds to purchase the remaining items on the list. And we'll present that to the board tonight. Next, we talked about the press box. The electrical should have been done as of last Wednesday. The stone dust is going to be delivered by the town to fix the washout near the bleachers. The windows, we were going to install a few more windows in the press box just so the site is better. And we're waiting 2 quotes. We did have a discussion about the roof, but we are going to have Mr. Noah Sad take a look at that to move forward with that. The fence is going to be installed by John and Scott at some point, and Danelle reported that there is $1,400 overage from constructing the press box, which she will donate to the Board of Ed to purchase more things for the press box. Then we talked about LMS painting. The project is completed. The storm cleanup at Lyman. We're going to be looking at pipes that might be blocked at Lyman, and then we're also waiting to replace the base of the flagpole at LMS. Then we talked about LES ventilation. Grant is still not out. Andy is going to look into the cost for obtaining a grant specialist to help out with that. Then we talked about LES preschool. We are awaiting Kathy Osteen to get back at us, and I did see her at the farmer's market on Saturday and told her that she needs to call you. And then finally, we talked about LMS asbestos project, which we would like to happen this summer coming up. For the asbestos removal is $102,000. New tiles is $58,000. The town did give us $160,000, and if we wanted to combine LMS and LES for asbestos removal, that would be $307,000 approximately. The recommendation is to move forward to bids for this, and we'll be discussing that tonight. That's it.
Thanks, Nicole. Any questions for Nicole? Go ahead.
Just a little clarification, that $1,400 is in a senior project account, I believe. I'm not donating it, I don't have that kind of money to donate. It's just what's left over in that senior project account. Yep.
Okay. Thanks. Brian, no report. Bruce, enrollment?
The enrollment committee met August 15th. I wasn't present. Thank you for directing the meeting. Sarah?
Yep.
Superintendent Gonzalez updated the committee about specific enrollment numbers, and we're sitting at 932 currently. Danelle noted that we could continue to reach out to families opting not to come to Lebanon, let them know we've revised offerings of the district, and to continue to improve relationships with the LMS families. Sending school partnerships. Superintendent Gonzalez reached out to Wyndham regarding Lyman being a sending ag school. We will continue to communicate. Norwich is not interested. Columbia communication has started. Sprague will continue to send ag students but will not. Meeting was adjourned.
Thanks, Bruce. Any questions on enrollment?
Can I
Yep, go ahead.
clarification? Is 932 an accurate number?
It was at the time, but that was in August 15th.
Okay.
Before the school year began.
Thank you.
And I think that has since changed. Yes. Okay, great. I do want to let you know that we do have an EastCon rep on the board, and it had been a board member who has resigned, so I took it over. I was supposed to meet with the EastCon leader this week or last week. Unfortunately, he had to cancel at the last minute, so we missed that meeting, but we're working on rescheduling. I think it's a collaborative with EastCon, so they, we have a connection within the local RESC, so that is in progress, and I will keep you updated on that. Okay? All right.
And governance.
And governance met. Thank you. Report on governance now. Okay. All right, that brings us to our administrators' reports. Thanks, Jess. Come on up. Me too.
So we've had a great start to LES, really wonderful. I wish you all could be there on the first day of school to see these kiddos come off the bus, raring to go for sure. Lexi shared a little bit about our summer reading. We had the summer reading challenge, but we also had the math challenge too. And our students visited over 300 different businesses in Lebanon and were able to do some different math concepts and so forth, and then collect their stamps. And so we incorporated both that reading piece and that math piece continuation over the summer. We had our preschool screening starting up August 18th, and we screened 18 students and welcomed 10 students into our program. We also had popsicles with the principal, and that was on August 19th. And about a third of our families joined us for that day and took a ride around the green on the bus and had popsicles, and we were out playing on the playground together. Mrs. Schumann is getting our music education program off to a great start, and we will have a virtual band night on September 15th, this Thursday, where we'll talk about instruments and what the kids can do. She'll have that fourth grade band, and also she's adding another addition onto chorus this year, so we'll have chorus at the third grade level and fourth grade level too. So some exciting news. We talked about our new hires, so we're welcoming our new team members, and we look forward to our open house that's coming up on the 29th, and our STEAM night is coming up on the 27th.
Thanks, Jess.
Hello, and I'll echo Tessa's comments. It's always incredibly exciting seeing students on the first day of school, and you quickly realize how so much is so new to all of them, even though for us, it's sort of a repeat performance, and that instantly invigorates you. So really was an exciting opening. Our opening day went very well. We had a great initial meeting with the kids. We had an assembly in the gym where we talk about the different character traits we look for in students, and then we reward students that exhibited a lot of those qualities in the previous year, something we've done for years. So we did that at our initial assembly. Throughout the first week, I got to be in a lot of classrooms, and it was really great to see all the fun icebreaker activities that teachers continually come up with every summer and do with the kids. Quite a different variety of things that they did, getting to know their students. That was a lot of fun to watch. We're very active already. Again, the students are just so eager to jump in and be a part of the school and do extracurriculars. So sports, clubs, newspaper. Actually got interviewed today by a couple of students that are in newspaper club with Miss Picard. It's just really, really energizing to see how much the kids want to get involved and how they take advantage of all those clubs and activities. Superintendent was awesome in helping support that by helping us to figure out a way to have a late bus, because that does help a lot of families to be able to have their children do these after-school activities, so we're grateful for that. We had our first PTO meeting the other day, where have some new membership and some returning members, and we're looking at doing some different activities for the fall and getting that going on the 23rd of this month. Will be our first event at the middle school. We're trying to sort of reinstitute, I'll say, a lot of field trips, and we're finding the costs crazy. So then we're kind of taking a step back and rethinking new field trips. You know, our first thought was to go back to Boston like we used to, or do this or do that, but so many of those, the bus prices are crazy. So I met with the team leaders and said, well, let's take another look at things that we can do. So as an example, we are continuing project where we're looking at doing more field trips to the Science Center. One suggestion I had made was to reach out to the sub base, and that's actually turning out to be well received, where we take the students to the submarine museum, and then we have a contact at the base that can also do some activities on base with the students after they go to the museum. So that's something we're looking at. We're basically trying to find things that are closer for us to do to have less busing costs. And I wanted to put in a plug on superintendent recognized all of our new teachers. I just wanted to recognize that starting the school year with all the things that we do to prepare students and teach them our expectations and really get them going, we have two positions that's being done by substitutes. And I call them our super subs. So I have Tammy Boone in 6th grade, special ed, and Roger Moyer in 8th grade science. And I really want to just give them a shout out, because that's a big shoes to fill when you're starting out the school year, and kids kind of need to help learn their way and learn the rules and everything. And they're both in as long-term subs. So thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
So, I mean, Lexi told you a lot of what has been happening at Lyman, but, just to let you know, it was great to welcome our new students, back on, August 23rd. Mm-hmm. We had a great day, even though the weather this is the first time, and I think 9 times we've done this, the weather really hasn't cooperated all that well. But we had bounce houses from the National Guard in the atrium here, and the kids were having there was no jumping on them. There was basketballs, there was a football, and there was that axe thing I was telling you about. But the kids had a great time with that. We had other things set up outside. Sam and I cooked again for them, and nobody complained about the food. But everybody seemed to enjoy themselves, and it's such a great activity, and I'm so glad we changed that up. We used to do a little program in the auditorium. They would do a tour of the school, and then they would get out. And now there's more time to actually get to know each other, and there's times we heard kids talking about, hey, I just added you on Snap, and getting Instagram, doing all those things to try and make friends before the year starts. It's great to see. Do you want to take one, or do you?
Yes. So obviously we have new staff as well. We're very excited about them. Sarah Manfrey is a welcome back. I don't know if you guys remember. She taught math here 3 or 4 years ago. and she came back to Lyman, so I think that says something. With us part-time, and yeah, they've been a great fit. We're very excited to have them back.
First day of school for us was first of all, it was great getting everybody back, but we handed out all of those. I don't know if you saw the pictures on Facebook. We handed out all the 100-year, cheers to 100 years T-shirts to all the kids, and anybody who registered late, we had them all set up for the teachers ahead of time, but anybody who registered late, we had extra T-shirts, so they just grabbed one on the way in, so everybody had one. And it was really interesting. If you look at those pictures, if you look at the freshman picture, because they're trying to get used to Lyman, if you look at the picture, they're a little bit spread out, like in the bleachers. But then, if you look at the sophomore, junior, and senior pictures, I think that says a lot about Lyman. They were like right on top of each other. They're all packed in. So the freshmen are starting to get to know each other. So yeah, they were a little bit farther apart. But I think as the year goes on, you'll start to see them getting closer and closer together, because that was the first day for some of them to actually meet each other. And we took pictures of all of them, and it was really funny. The seniors stood up, and on the back of their shirts, they have a saying that says, "It took 100 years to get a class this awesome," right? So we were all taking the pictures with them. So when they stood up and turned around, okay, I turned around too. But I don't have that on my shirt. My shirt's just blank. So they were, I heard Sam telling me, "Jay, get out of the picture. Get out of the picture." But, it was a great time. And, we talked to all of them. We talked about the history. We introduced them to the 100-year committee. The kids were great. They were so respectful. It was really nice. That was a good introduction.
Yeah, and our open house went really well. We had increased in participation from the year before, so we're keeping track of that. So we had about 165 people attend, which is a little more than last year, so each year we hope that continues to grow. I know that we're going to talk about this again too, but we really want to give kudos to Christy Michelle, who really worked for Barbara for the past few weeks, really helping with the 100th year graduation, and she put in a lot of effort for us too. So Jay and I may be the faces, but she's really the one who put in a lot of that work and sent those emails and designed those things. So we're very appreciative of Mrs. Michelle.
And you heard enough ad nauseum about the 100-year celebration this weekend, but
it was awesome.
You're going to start seeing pictures come out from their Facebook page and things that they put out. They had a photographer there, so everything was recorded. There was the guy from the State Department of Education, their chief, planning officer. He took a picture with the woman. Her name was Helen. I think
Bender.
it was Bender. But they took it right out in front of that display case, and it was just weird. When I took the picture, I looked in it, and right above it, you could see, George Lyman's legacy. Right above, her picture. It was so cool. My wife tells me I take terrible pictures, but that was a great picture that I took of them, and he was really thankful for that too. That guy. His name was Keith Norton. He stayed around for a long time talking to people, and he was really interested in what was going on, and he engaged a lot of people. That was really nice.
Yeah, and a lot of our students helped out. A lot of ninth graders too, which is we're like, yeah, NHS, right? So it was a good weekend. We're tired, but it was a good weekend. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So Sam, on your budget, you're going to ask for a shepherd's hook to grab them from photos?
Yeah, I should get a stipend for that.
Hello, everyone. Did they leave this on?
Okay, so hello. So from Pupils Services, of course, our first thing is CT-SEDS. It was launched July 1st. Over the summer, myself and 4 other of the special ed staff became expert trainers, but it's an ongoing process. Fran, the administrative assistant, and myself are regularly attending trainings and updates. When we had PD, I provided training to the special education staff over 2 sessions, and it's really becoming on-the-job training, which is time-consuming, but we're all muddling through it, and the feedback actually has been positive. And when you log on to CT Sets, I love the landing page. It has lots of graphics, so I was able to do that and let you know that we currently have 168 students that are receiving special education services. Another thing that's happened starting in June is we've switched from PMT to safety care, which safety care is a behavioral safety training program so that it is effective to minimize and manage behavioral challenges. So we had 2 people go for training over the course of the year, and then over the summer in June and then again in August, almost 40 staff members have been trained. And we have another, Amanda Mansfield, one of our social workers, is going to become a trainer next month. And a lot of that professional development was for our paraprofessionals, and the state has required now that paraprofessionals do receive professional development. So we also, through a grant, we're using them through CREC, we have a platform for professional development. So on the PD day in August, if a paraprofessional was not doing safety care training, they were working on this new platform, and the first topic or module that they worked on was roles and responsibilities. And what's good about this platform also is if a paraprofessional needs to go to a PPT meeting, we're required to train them, and there is a module on attending PPT meetings. Another thing that we are starting with is DESA, which is, it stands for Devereaux Student Strengths Assessment, and it will identify social and emotional skills that a child has learned and what they may need to develop. So we, again, through a grant, we're doing, this is going to replace BESS for social emotional learning screening. And training has started in the district, so we have our, our district leaders, and then at each building level, there are site level leaders, and all of us have started our training. Teachers will be trained prior to administering this, which the date for rollout for that is October 24th. So then we'll have the data for you in November. And then the last thing is that next week on Wednesday, I plan to have our first special education parent group meeting, and it will be on navigating the website. So I know that Rita talked about her website, and also CT Sets, because there'll be CT Sets information for parents on the website.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
Dawn.
I have a question.
Nicole has a question.
Thanks for that information, Dawn. I'm really happy to see that you're giving our IAs PD. I think it's really important because they work directly with these kids. And I'm really happy to see that you're going to train them to go to PPTs, because as a teacher, I always wondered why we never had our IAs sitting there, because they're working directly with those kids. So I'm really happy that you're going to do that. I just have a question with the, I guess it was a handbook that was given out, that it says in the handbook that IAs will be asked to sub at times, and I just want to make sure that we are never pulling them away from their kids, because that's a violation of IEPs. I know there's a sub shortage, and I know sometimes your hands are tied and you have to pull them, but it is an IEP violation. So can you speak a little bit about that?
So,
Dawn, I think Andy wants to say something.
Sorry, I didn't want to undercut you before you. So yeah, I'm thrilled too that we are moving towards best practices of having training for paraeducators and involving them in the PPT process. It does help when there's legislation that says you need to do that. So the Connecticut legislator has put out a variety of laws that are enacted this year that we learned about very late in the summer. So Dawn has been great about working closely with Rita to try to get professional development put into place. And for the paraeducators, if a family were to request, they definitely can and should be there. You know, they know these learners as well as anyone. Just quickly to the sub information, and then obviously Dawn, you know, I'd love to hear your answer. So those decisions are made day to day by building principals, and there is something within the contract for our paraeducators that they do receive a stipend when this happens. So it's not a new practice. It is unfortunately over the past couple of years something that has been instituted more frequently because we need people with the kids in general, including our special education students. And then obviously Dawn has the challenge of working with principals and classroom teachers to make sure that services are either made up at another time or, you know, that we're making sure that we're in line with the IEP. Sorry, go ahead, Dawn.
Yeah. So just to add to that is that, you know, in developing the handbook, you know, I started with the framework. It was a collaborative effort. I sent it out to the principals, and it's just something that has come up over the years is that, yes, the paras are very devoted to their students, and so when they had to step out and sub, it was a concern. So we just want it out there that it's a possibility because, you know, we have these classes with lots of students and we always prioritize. So a student that has a one-to-one, a pair with a one-to-one student, that student would not be, you know, that pair would not be taken. We prioritize and we move people around and we just try to do what's best for all students.
Thanks, Dawn.
All right, thank you.
No, I don't.
Okay. So I feel like Danelle already stole the show. I'll just highlight a few things. As she mentioned, you can explore the website now. It is an ongoing. Please give me feedback if there's anything on there that you feel I could add more. I certainly would. I've shared it with the department heads at the high school. They gave me great input. So certainly any feedback's appreciated. On there, you'll see the curriculum cycle review. One of the things I'd mentioned at the subcommittee level is that I was getting tons of emails at least once or twice a month, in particular because we didn't have a curriculum director in this role for some time, about, oh, can we focus on my department? Can we do this? And so this cycle review, you know, makes sure everybody is feeling we're going to focus with your department. This is the time. This is the percent. And of course, we'll work together at different points depending on state mandates, but at least that provides a visual for all the teachers across the district. And then, of course, Seal It by Literacy, the World Language Department, I met with them. It's very exciting. So they'll have a diploma, and actually probably that student, right, that we were recognized today, I could see her potentially getting something like that on her diploma. And I did want to bring back, the only other thing I'd like to share is to bring back what Danelle wanted to highlight a little bit more. So you will get a more thorough data result presentation in October. However, just for you to be aware that the Lebanon Public Schools as a whole did perform the top in growth compared to other districts in the New London County in all areas. The Lebanon Middle School, actually, if you break it down to building level, scored the second in both ELA and science in the New London County, and for NGSS, I'm sorry, for math, third. And that's for over 45 schools. The middle school showed growth in those academic areas. The largest growth was in the math. That was our focus last year, as you know. We brought a new program, I worked on curriculum revision with the teachers, so math showed the greatest growth. And I mentioned in the subcommittee, I think one of the primary reasons why we probably showed such great growth compared to other districts was because we were predominantly in person compared to many of these districts. We were shy right behind East Lyme in all of the areas pretty much. So it's really exciting to see these growth results because, as Dawn just shared about special education here in Lebanon, we are not just looking at, right, the high, we are here to service all our students. So although we love when students make 3 or 4 on their aspect scores and NGSS, right? We want to see all of our students growing. So whether you're a level 1 to grow a little bit, a level 2. And so that's why I think it's important that we highlighted the growth. But we did score at average and above average, above the state in all areas as well. So, exciting.
Yes, thank you, Rita. Okay. Great, now to our report of the superintendent.
Thank you. Thank you to all the administrators for that exciting verbal report that you brought. I know back to school I'll talk a little bit about, but it was a great start. Starting with enrollment, just to confirm, I know Dawn, you had a question earlier. Yes, this summer we were 932. We are at 959. There was a substantial jump just in that 1 month from the time we had that discussion. Certain grade levels impacted more than others, which you can see on the report. Our class sizes are still very reasonable. We're keeping an eye on a couple grade levels just to make sure that we can support them appropriately. Just remember, as Danelle pointed out earlier in one of the reports, that the best way to kind of look at what's happening year over year is to look diagonally down. You know, pre-K, again, we're starting off pretty high as compared to maybe where we've been in years past, but that number may grow some with our ongoing screenings. You can see that kindergarten is at a higher starting point than last year. First grade, that number is up just slightly from where we ended. That small cohort that we've talked about, even that had a slight increase over the summer. And then grades 3 and 4. Grade 3 has remained flat, but grade 4 has had that significant jump with 7 additional students since the end of the last school year. In the middle school, slight dip in 5th grade as compared to the year before. Same with 6th grade, and then 7th has remained relatively flat. And then that 8th grade group has a slight increase. Looking down into the high school, our freshman class does look lower than last year, and you can see we lost some of those freshmen into their sophomore year. And as Jay pointed out, our lowest enrolled class is that senior class. So similarly, how we have that small cohort in grade 2 that's kind of bumping through the ranks, we have a smaller cohort as a senior group that will be bumping out, so our numbers at the high school should look a little bit higher next year. Any questions about enrollment?
Can I just point out there's a big difference between how many 8th graders we had last year and how many freshmen we have this year. So we increased by 12 students.
Yeah, we have talked about that while that I think it is fabulous and we're doing a tremendous job attracting students from sending schools, we did have some that we've talked about in our enrollment who have chosen to go elsewhere, but I do think we're headed in the right direction with our turf management offering, our drone class, you're trying to bring in some of the nursing programming. I think our programming, as it's developed and implemented and as it's communicated and celebrated, I think will have a positive impact on some of those 8th grade learners who might be choosing to go elsewhere. We didn't really have that opportunity to sell it as much to this first class of freshmen that have joined us, so we'll keep working on that, but I think we're headed in the right direction.
Danelle has a question.
I don't know, maybe for next month or maybe next year for September. I'm curious to know, of that new freshman class that comes in, how many are in ag, or how many come from these districts that we're trying to attract? You know what I mean, like Franklin or Basra? How many are coming from those?
Yeah, we can get you that.
Okay, thanks.
Lisbon next year. How many? Anybody else? Oh, Dawn, go ahead.
I imagine the current 4th grade is a class you're keeping an eye on because they had the biggest growth.
They did.
Last year and this year.
So my conversations regarding that group is, you know, as you look throughout the elementary school, I think the class that most people would focus on as a comparison would be 2nd grade. 2nd grade currently has 3 teachers with that number. So when you look at that low number and you think, okay, where would we possibly slide somebody or what could we do? Our classes in 4th grade with 3 teachers are still just over 20. So if you were to make a shift, you would put that number in that other grade level with younger kids. So while, we recognize that over 20 in a class is not necessarily where we'd want to be and what we would consider, optimal class size, if we make any shift, it would do that same thing just in a younger grade.
2nd grade has 49.
But they only have 3.
And 4th grade is 68. And
right, so if you pulled a 2nd grade teacher, now how many do you have?
Oh, you mean moving a 2nd grade
Yeah, like we'd have to
I was not
maneuver
following what you
somebody,
said.
unless we got to a point where we felt we wanted to try to add a teacher.
Gotcha. And then any idea of what happened to our current 10th grade class? They were the biggest drop, 95 to 87.
Yeah, we're down 8. I'd have to do some specific research to look at individual students and where they have gone. Trying to stay on top of getting people to fill out these exit surveys, but not everyone's taking advantage to provide responses there.
Gotcha. Thanks.
All right, back to school. I guess before I share, I'm just really proud of the administrative team, teachers, support staff in general for everything that they do before school even starts. And I think we get so focused on the efforts of when the kids are actually back and how well the school year is going, but there's so much planning and preparation and even events that are taking place before school starts that make kids, make families feel very welcome. I can even remember when I was in here doing a new staff orientation, and we have at the same time freshman orientation going on, and I think we do a really nice job to support transition. But back to school is always exciting. As you heard from our admin, it's filled with energy and enthusiasm. I think staff and students alike are both looking forward to a positive and productive year. And we did hear from even our student rep that the back-to-school transition's filled with a lot of activities to support relationship development, classroom routines, etc. I know we talked a lot about the 100th year, but I feel I have to do my part. We tried to recognize Barbara Wenglowski at the opening ceremonies with some flowers and a couple pieces of Lyman attire, but she really has been like a full-time employee. Anytime I was at Lyman or even visiting the hallways within the middle school, she was there setting up some type of board to represent the history with visuals or putting up some charts with interesting facts. And I had the opportunity to be a part of one of the middle school tours 2 different times and to hear from the separate groups the different things that they remembered and the questions that they asked and the comments that they made. I really felt like I learned a lot from that. I did want to specifically try to highlight some staff that participated and helped out. Jeff Picard drove the bus and helped clean up the field on Friday for the baseball game, so he was bringing people back and forth between the schools. John Jarvis and Mike Hartnett helped tremendously with the setup. John was here even throughout the weekend doing more things. Dave Lund and Dick Zyka set up for the dance on Friday night. Tammy Magnan assisted on Saturday. Theo Cicchetti was here on Saturday to help and Sunday with the breakdown. Mark Murillo and Marty Gomez helped prepare for the Hanover Field celebration and the alumni game. Zach Johnson helped put the video together. Katie Ricard helped with the organizing the alumni concert. Christy Michelle, as Sam and Jay pointed out, she worked pretty much nonstop to be like Barbara's right-hand person. And then all the administrators and facility members who helped out. It really was a once-in-a-lifetime event, and it was a total team effort. All right, some other things that were pointed out in the back-to-school celebrations and notices. We do have the special ed parent group. That's on Wednesday, September 21st at 6. The open house for K through 4 on the 29th at 6. I do want to share that LES PTA meetings are 6:30, and they meet the first Tuesday of the month, and the LMS PTO is at 6:30, and they also meet the first Tuesday of the month. One other thing I think is noteworthy for the board, while many districts across the state are struggling with transportation, I think M&J is probably feeling that staff shortage as well. They did a pretty nice job making sure that our runs were on time and that we didn't have to cancel any athletic events. It didn't go off without a hiccup, but we've dealt with those kind of things all along. You know, there were some other districts, unfortunately, that had to close school or make some take some pretty drastic measures because of transportation, and we didn't have to go through that, so I was happy to see that. Any questions about back to school or anything there? All right, moving on to the SMART funds for school meals. This is something that I had shared with the board before, but we did have an update. We are receiving $113,205 as part of this SMART funds, which will allow for reimbursable free lunches for our students. That will get us roughly to the end of November. In talking with Carlos Veracruz, our food service director, he did let me know that those are the current figures, but that can change depending on how many families qualify for free and reduced lunch, depending on what the participation rates are in the cafeteria, and if the state, for some reason, changes our base funds. We don't have any indication that that will happen, but if it does, it may impact how long these funds stretch. One of the requirements we have as a district receiving these funds is to communicate with families 30 days in advance of when the funds will cease. So we're ready to do that. We were ready to transition back to meals at a cost before the school year, but took our chance to see if we could get funds. We have been provided them, so we're going to take advantage of them as long as they can, and we will make sure that families know when they run out. Yes.
So just clarification, the meals are free, but if they want snacks or anything else, they can use the My Payment Plus.
Correct. Snacks,
account.
a la carte stuff are not free.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? All right.
All right, moving on to our COVID-19 update. You know, I wish that these would be a little lighter and easier to share, but unfortunately, it's, I think, something we're just going to have to get used to over the next couple of years and for the foreseeable future. I do feel like we are in a much better place to start the school year. We've had 14 positive student cases and 3 positive staff cases. We did, as I've shared in some of the other subcommittees, update our safe in-person instruction and continuity of service plan. That is something that has to be done annually and periodically during each year in order to make sure that we're maintaining, meeting the requirements of our ARP-ESSER funding, and to make sure, most importantly, that our community is aware of the protocols and best practices that were implemented. We're using the Department of Public Health and UNCA's health recommendations to make sure that the district starts healthy and maximizes in-person instruction. We continue to focus on early identification when our nurses come across a student or staff member that is symptomatic or showing or complaining about signs. We have ample test kits that we're offering for them to take home with them. If there are family members or community members that have students in our schools that need them, we're giving them out. We're trying to identify it at its earliest stages so that we can stop the spread. If there is a positive case, students or staff have to isolate for 5 days regardless of vaccination status, and then they're welcomed back into the school environment. Once they are fever-free and symptom-free, they have to wear a mask for 5 days. And that's kind of where we left off at the end of the year and kind of started again this year. Any questions about COVID-19?
I kind of do, but I don't know if you can answer this, but is anyone looking into the spread of COVID? Because like over the summer, I've been around like people that have had COVID and I don't get it. Like it's not, I don't think it's as spreadable as people think it is. So is anyone gonna look into that and see like when this can end? Because at this point, COVID to me is nothing but a cold. Some people get it, some people don't.
I don't know of any specific research that has come out regarding the spread, although I do know how it's impacted our plans and their best practices. Like if you just think back to last year, we were 6 feet apart, we were one-way directional, traffic flow, we were masks required, not welcome, we were all the different PPE we could get out, we had desk shields up. It was a pretty drastic shift to where we are now. We are no masks unless, they're welcome but not required. We are not requiring any type of social distance. We have no limits on directionality of our traffic. We have no limits on group size. So I think the data that they do have supports that we can do these things safer than what they thought. And I'm just taking their guidance. I don't have any hard data to share.
Sorry, I don't know exactly what's in our COVID protocols, but do we have to have that report every time there's a case?
To the community, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So we did scale back a little bit. Before it was like a district-wide thrill share blast that even if it happened at the high school and you had no kids at the high school for the past 9 years, you still got that notification. So now we are only doing it to the impacted school, and we try to identify the impacted grade level and whether it's student or staff, just to give comfort to community members who are looking for that type of information. I think it is a kind of happy medium. You have some families who are looking for a lot of information, some that gladly delete that message before it's even read in completion. But we are required still to document and share with the Department of Public Health. So I do that in addition to sending out the message to the community, but that has been a topic of conversation at superintendent advisory groups and regional meetings. Why are we even giving that to DPH at this point? Because it does take the time of our nurses to fill out and gather data, then they send it to me, it takes my time to go into the platform and for individual schools, fill out that report, and then to report to the community. But in our return plan, it does say that communication will go out to the community.
Any other questions?
All right, last part of the superintendent is just an update on the barn. So we're quickly making progress toward the build of this barn. At the end of August, we met with the Lebanon Planning and Zoning Committee, and our plan was unanimously approved. They actually had a lot of great things to say about what they think this will do for our program and that it was kind of long past due. So again, we're happy that Brenda has worked so hard to acquire this grant along with Jay and Sam at the high school. We've consulted with the town planner, the building inspector, and Uncas Health Sanitarium to make sure we're meeting all the necessary requirements. And later this week, we'll actually be meeting with the builder to review the site plan. And not long after that, the construction of panels and cutting of wood will begin. Our planned build date is October 17th. If you remember how fast this process had to move, we have to have all things encumbered. What is that date, Val?
September 30th.
September 30th, and then fully liquidated by November 30th. So we're moving as fast as we can to be able to fulfill the requirements. Just as a little side note, half of the crops for the planned build site have already been harvested and moved so that we'll be able to continue to have all of these crops that are out there. Actually, our turf management class has been involved in that process of moving them from the back to the front, so it's been nice.
Who's the builder?
Lancaster Pole Buildings.
Are they from Pennsylvania?
I believe so.
Lancaster sounds right.
Good. Okay.
Questions? No? Okay, thank you very much, Andy. Move right along to our facilities report.
Hello. This one went way too fast. So we had MCOR out, they did their PMs. We did find 2 exhaust fans at the high school, number 3 and number 13. I had a price of $5,103 to get those replaced. I just got that this afternoon. The door hardware for safety and security, that came in yesterday afternoon. We have all the parts and pieces now, so we can move forward with that work as well. And the electrical upgrade, we're doing bits and pieces of that. We've spent some of the money on the fire marshal walkthroughs. I haven't received any invoices as of yet, as of today's date. And line striping crack sealing is done, like I reported last time. We're just waiting that last invoice. And that's about it.
Nicole?
All right, couple things. I would like to have Jason Noasad inspect the press box once again, specifically the roof.
Okay,
And I would like to get direction from him to see like what we have to do next.
okay.
That's my recommendation. I don't know if anyone agrees with that.
The town building inspector?
Yes, please.
So it's my understanding he came out already and gave us a CO, right?
Yes.
Why do we need to have him come back again?
There was a question, I guess when Kevin brought in contractors to do the windows, maybe, there was a question on the roof, that it maybe is not installed correctly. And before we get anyone to start ripping things apart, I need the building inspector to give us direction.
We're not doing, I wouldn't do anything, I'm just entertaining quotes right now.
Right.
So when I get the quotes, I will bring them to the subcommittee,
Right, but
but you can have
said at the
Jason, he can come look at it as well, that's fine.
But at the subcommittee meeting, was it a contractor that mentioned something about the roof?
Yes.
Right, so we need to have the building inspector look at that, please.
Well, I'm just confused about the process of this. It seems like the building inspector wouldn't give us a certificate of...
The building inspector, the only thing he flags, the electrical has been replaced with MC cabling, that's all done.
That's the only thing he looked at? He didn't look at the,
Well, as far as code compliance.
Structurally, didn't he?
It's compliant by code, but it leaks. So, in the windows, you can't see the ball field. So those are the things that we questioned when they built it. And those were things we're looking at moving forward to rectify. I don't know where the money would come from, but I'm just giving that to the subcommittee as an option, if you will.
But the windows were never like part of the original design. That should have been done at the very beginning, like, hey, the sight line. And maybe that was, overlooked. That's fine, but that's not something to shut down the press box. I'm concerned about the roof, because if it leaks, which I knew nothing about leaking, we need to have the building inspector look at that.
Yeah, I think some of this, or a lot of this, is a matter of preference when we're talking about adding windows. If a roof leaks, a roof leaks. I don't know that it leaks. I don't know where it leaks. I think when you say you're confused about the process, I don't think contractors coming in overpower what a building inspector already approved.
Right.
So they're coming in and saying, you need to fix this, you need to fix this, when our town building inspector has already approved it. The windows are a matter of preference, to be honest. I've been in the press box. I watched the alumni game from the press box. I could see the field fine. I think the volunteer work that we had from Kevin Witcher was an amazing amount of hours, a ton of work. Our inspector approved it, and it can be used. So we're talking about a matter of preference for other upgrades.
Does it cost anything to have the town building inspector come out and look at it again? Is that free?
Yeah, it's free.
Can we do that? I just don't see a problem if it's free. Let's have him take a look at it. It seems like it's leaking, which is, we just want to make sure that it's not leaking on anything electrical or anything.
Right.
Right? So can we?
I'll place a phone call, yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
And I have something else. So when we met for the subcommittee meeting, we prioritized the facilities tracking list. And Kevin, you mentioned that it costs $1,300 a day to rent a scissor lift, correct?
I think it was actually more than that. I just got a bill. I think it was like $1,500 for the day.
Okay, so question, where are you getting these scissor lifts?
I haven't priced it yet.
No, when you rent them, where are you getting them from?
Oh, that was, oh my God, I can't think of the name of the company. Something Rents.
Okay.
Kevin,
United Rentals.
Would you mind at the next subcommittee meeting for Finance and Facilities, bringing some of those invoices for the subcommittee? Just before, because my understanding is we're moving forward, or the committee would like to move forward with a scissor lift purchase, which is a significant purchase. So I think having that data available for the subcommittee to review would be really helpful, and for the board itself. Maybe more than just one, maybe the last, 3 times that you've rented?
I've actually had MCOR many times come out here for free and bring us manless. When we needed a scissor lift for the 100th anniversary to drive around through the parking lot and actually put the 100 signs up, we needed a drivable scissor lift. So they wouldn't come out, they wouldn't give me a drivable scissor lift for free. So I had to actually rent it.
So this is a drivable.
Right.
That's different than just a scissor lift.
Right. No, that's what we're going to purchase. We're going to purchase a drivable scissor lift. That's the intent.
Can you explain the difference,
Well, the one we have now is a man lift. You push it. It's just manual. It's not driven at all. So what Scott and John have been asking for years is a scissor lift that they can go up above the bleachers. It pushes out so we can actually get the banners safely. Right now we can't. We're reaching over bleachers trying to attach banners, because even when the bleachers collapsed in, they're not flush against the wall. So we need a way to get safely to get to the banners.
Is there a different scissors lift for outdoor as opposed to indoor?
Not really, no. Not really.
Brian?
So if possible, to your point, Sarah, Kevin, maybe, would it be possible to get perhaps 2 or 3 quotes on what it would cost? I don't know how many companies in our area rent them, but it'd be good anecdotal data, to Sarah's point, to know what, just like we would if we're going to purchase something. We want an equal amount of quotes to compare prices, but it would be interesting to see what it would cost per day to rent, from a few different companies. So at least we've done our due diligence to say, look, it does make sense to make this capital purchase, because 6 rents and we've got it paid for, or whatever the course is. Or maybe it is less than that through someone else if we, say we need it 6 times a year, can you give us anything better for a price? But it certainly would help us with our homework too before we make a capital.
I've called the company down the street. I think it's Reds is the name of it. Is it Reds or something?
Yeah.
Okay, they wanted like $3,000 a day renting from the school. I called MCOR. They got the same lift for $1,300 for the day. I mean, I don't get why they're going to charge the school $3,000. It doesn't make any. It's a municipality, right? So I don't know what the difference is.
I have one more.
But yeah, I can do the research. I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
I have one more question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You may have answered this, but I wasn't listening. Why do we need a drivable one?
So you can get to the polls and outside at the high school and safely inside the gym. It's a lot. You're not gonna push a scissor lift.
Okay.
Bruce, did you have something? No?
My son uses a scissor lift. He's an electrician, and my other son does tree work, and so yeah, I can see the need for it. And my one son has used a pushable, and he hates that thing,
Right.
It's just archaic.
Well, the one at the elementary school, even to your point, it's a pushable, it's a nice lift, but to get it through the doorways, we have to let air out of the tires to get through the door frames. So to push the thing with low air in the tires is a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. I don't know why they design a lift like that doesn't go through a door with full tires. I don't know.
Go ahead, Andy.
Kevin, you had also discussed how this might facilitate being able to do things in other buildings as well. I know we've talked a lot about just at the high school.
Right. We also talked, I've heard other subcommittees talking about trailers, like in the ag program and so on and so forth. So shared services, if any of us got a trailer, we could drive this lift to another school. Like, again, the town has helped us out tremendously, with manpower, with trailers and so on and so forth. But We should probably have one of our own, I would guess.
Does the town own a scissor lift?
No, not a scissor lift, I don't believe so.
No.
But they have trailers. We've been borrowing their trailers a lot.
Danelle, did you have something?
Yeah. During the walkthrough, we noticed that there was some damage or burn spots in the elementary school. And I'm wondering if, and it was also brought up on a report somewhere, did those get repaired?
I have 2 vendors coming back. The original vendor that did the work and Daleen Flooring that did the work at the high school for a second opinion.
So would that be something that the original installer would fix for free? Because we saw it in August, they were like, it was crispy in certain spots.
It depends. I'm hearing it may be rotted wood. So that's why I want Daleen Floor to come out. They're experts on gym floors. I want them to come out for an opinion. They just haven't come out yet.
Do it.
Wouldn't they have noticed rotted wood when they did the floor?
It doesn't look rotten if you touch it. It doesn't feel rotten. It just looks burnt. It looks like it's burnt to me. I don't. So.
Okay, so that will get discussed at the next finance meeting, or facilities meeting? Okay, great. All right, go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, so something else you'll see there, since our last Board of Ed meeting, we've had some significant rain. In particular, on Saturday, August 27th, we had a rainstorm that resulted in Lyman taking on some groundwater. Our athletic director, Scott Elliott, was on site for athletics and was able to identify the problem quickly. Our Lebanon Fire Department, our custodial team were on the site addressing the issue. I was notified, but I was out of state and couldn't get here in a timely manner. Kevin was notified, could not get here because of closed roads. So the team did a tremendous job in our absence. I received updates actually from Kathleen Smith in her role as a member of the Board of Selectmen, and I spoke directly on the phone several times with Fire Chief Jay Shaw, who assured me that the team had it under control and was confident that we'd be able to start school on Monday as planned, which we did, obviously. The next morning, I did meet with John and Kevin. We walked the site again. We noticed that there was a clogged outlet in the pasture out here in the back. John has since taken a bobcat and, tried to address that. We know that there might be other issues that we're continuing to look into in terms of the flow of the water during a rainstorm. It did improve greatly while doing that work, but isn't there one that runs out towards the amphitheater?
I had Ruderman actually come out last week, and we actually cambered both of the drain lines, and they're both clear now.
Awesome. And then we did have also the flagpole at the middle school. The wind snapped the bolts right off, so Kevin, John, and I were able to move that to the side. What I did do, I submitted a claim on these issues just because while we could see that the water was gone and we could see that there were not tiles popping and too much visible damage to sheetrock, etc., we wanted Mystic Air to come out and see if there's anything that they could take samplings on. I know that happened today.
That happened this afternoon, that's correct.
All right, any questions on that? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, finance report.
Hello, everybody. It's good to see you guys again. We had quite the busy summer in the finance office. But maybe I'll just highlight some of my office updates, if you don't mind, before we get into reports. So on September 1st, we were able to certify the EFS, which is the Education Financial System. It's a state-required report where we have to basically report all of our expenditures, not only for local funding in our schools, but also related to our federal and state grants as well. So it was a pretty extensive report, and it went well, and it's done, and I'm happy now. Around that same time, we also had to take care of some other state reporting requirements, like minimum budget requirements, and so we were able to hit all of those deadlines, and I was really, really excited about that. As far as the new year's concerned, we've got our certified teachers paid, and this next payroll our IAs will join, and everybody will officially be starting to get paid for the year, so it's been pretty busy. We do have a vacancy in our bookkeeping position. So I'm a lone soldier at this point, learning all facets of the office. So, but I look forward to welcoming somebody soon, hopefully. We'll be moving into audit season. Once EFS is done, now it's ready time for the auditors to come in and kind of cross all my T's and dot my I's. So I team up with the town and we move right into audit season and then budget season. So not really time for a breath of fresh air, but we'll just keep rolling right through. Speaking of the 22 report, I know that my August report had projected a unfortunately different outcome. So we had some outliers in late July that skewed our surplus. So as of June 30th, 2022, we have the $8,789.26 as a surplus. And it was almost forever changing, but that is what was reported in EFS, and that's it. I stopped. We're done. Moving on to the next year.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Could you repeat that number, please?
Yeah, $8,789.26.
Thank you.
So originally, we thought it was going to be 30,000?
It was, yeah, and we're near 23. Unfortunately, some special ed transportation invoices came in last minute, and I'm more than happy to get them in the appropriate year. I would hate to have had, at this point, because EFS is filed, if anything comes up from last year, I have to put it into this budget season. So I was happy to kind of cram in all the expenditures we could, and we still had time, so. But it is an ever-changing number. As for 2023, this report will show just August, so it's just our second period of the year. Not many gigantic changes, but I'm open to any questions if anybody has any about the report.
I have one, Val.
Sure.
Anything with special ed, like any, huge costs that we're looking at for this year?
Not right now, and unfortunately, I think those things kind of just crop up as the year comes along, and the kids have only been in school for a few days at this point. But the September report will obviously encompass the first month and anything that's come up. For the most part, we've got all of our encumbrances in for all of our outplaced tuitions and transportation. But we'll keep you guys obviously posted if that changes.
Okay. Question about how about fuel?
Fuel, I don't have the numbers in front of me, I'm sorry.
No, you don't need to give me specific numbers. I was just thinking because things have changed since we've last spoken to you.
Sure, so we were able to secure the contract with the town, and I believe our rate was for diesel's $3.60.
$2.80 for fuel.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as we thought, but it wasn't what we budgeted for. So there have been conversations with the Board of Finance. They are well aware because the town's in the same boat as we are. So our plan is to keep those lines of communication open and do our best with the rates that we have, but the rate started to come down, so we felt it was time to kind of secure a contract.
Okay, thanks.
Not to be left to open market on July 1st, right? As we move through, we went through the facilities tracking list. Obviously, projects are starting to be completed there. On the back side is the non-lapsing fund and our balance. I did want to, Andy and I talked about this, I wanted to ask the board, I wondered if we should entertain a motion for the approval of this expenditure in the non-lapsing fund. I know at this point it's superintendent approved, but reading the non-lapsing policy, it does mention the board approval. So I didn't know if we wanted to discuss that now or talk about or add new business. I don't know how the actual rules work there, but this was painting work that was required by the building inspector. And it was in the high school, am I right? I think it was in the ceiling
Oh,
of the
yes,
high
the
school.
overhang.
Is that, yeah, yep, the entryway. So just thinking about the policy and making sure we're following protocol. I'm wondering if we should discuss that at some point tonight. This last report I have here is the trial balance. We talked about this in the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee. Unfortunately, I always say this isn't really as pretty as the other reports that I have, but this shows us that on the top line there, we have our asbestos abatement, the $160,000 from the town. This will be the only report that you look at where negatives are good things. It's all revenue. So there's also the $90,000 allotment for technology, our $30,000 allotment for athletics, and back up to technology, a small expenditure for capital technology. So not much activity, but these are our balances for the beginning of the year. And again, if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
I have another question, Val.
Sure.
How much are we getting for the Verizon tower that we have a month?
We don't, that's an agreement with the town.
Okay.
We don't get that.
So that goes back to the town?
It does, yeah. The town was approached by Verizon, so they manage that lease. It's a lease payment, and the money is supposed to be used to maintain the property and, you know, maintain the building. Like, we were able to put that building up and everything. I was with the town when that happened. So that's all town contract.
But you don't know how much the town gets for that?
Not off the top of my head. I wouldn't feel comfortable trying to remember. I could look it up for you if you
For the next meeting? I'm just curious.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, back to the non-lapsing.
Sure.
Project, maybe just to be safe, if somebody felt like they could make a motion or move to amend the agenda to include action item number 3, to approve this project be taken out of non-lapsing in the amount of $5,000, right?
2,000, the approved cost that we talked about was 5,000, but it luckily came in at the 2,588.61, so that's the actual expenditure.
58861. Okay, so I will move to add action item 3 to act on the non-lapse, what is it? The painting exterior entry at the high school in the amount of $25.88.61 to come out of the non-lapsing fund. Is that correct, Joe?
That is, nice
Yeah,
work.
but you're just adding an action item now.
Right, I'm just adding right with the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion by Alexis, seconded by John. Any discussion of amending the agenda? All those in favor of amending the agenda to add an action item, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. So add that action item number 3. Thank you.
Great.
Anything
Any
else,
other-
Val?
Not for right now. Any other questions?
All right, thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
All right, that brings us to new business. In your board packet, you have the first reading of the high school graduation requirements. Any questions on that? No? Just the first reading. New business number 2 is discussion on policy 4014 nepotism. Maureen, could you give us a little background on this?
Well, we have an issue with finding substitutes. So we had a long discussion at our policy subcommittee meeting, and we decided that we should pull the policy and bring it to the rest of the board for their input.
Great. Hopefully you had a chance to read the nepotism policy. We did discuss it at length during policy, but I'm not sure if anybody has any thoughts or suggestions to start off our discussion.
Start.
Nicole.
I think that we should, in light of the current times and how hard it is with our teacher shortage and IA shortage and everything shortage, it would be nice to revise this so that family members could work in the school system.
Anyone else? Brian?
Agreed. We went, as you said, there was a lot of discussion on the topic. Superintendent Gonzalez, also offered up, we kind of wrestled with, do we leave the superintendent language in so that they don't have put them in a quagmire or a conflict? But that the board is pretty far, well, we're not part of the hiring process, we're not part of the interviewing process. That's, we have one employee and that's the superintendent who does that for us. So that there wasn't necessarily, some felt that it was, we were far enough removed, so to speak, that it would be safe, or that it hopefully wouldn't put us in a position. Sarah, certainly you had brought up great points too, that what happened, we might be in great shape now with, Superintendent X, but at some other point in time in the future, the board may not, and the board may have a problem with nepotism. So, brought back an argument that we perhaps just keep it the same. So that was my 2 cents on kind of trying to get to it.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Anybody else have any thoughts on this? Go ahead, Maureen.
Well, we're talking about the prohibition on hiring, so far it has sounded to me like we would like to keep the sentence that says no relative or immediate family member of the superintendent of schools shall be hired to any position of employment. It would be the no immediate family member or board member. Well, that right there seems like we should drop that. Or any other district level administrator. Well, that gets it to be a little bit more sticky, so that would be more the thing I think we should discuss. I personally think we should drop board member and have some more input on what people think about other administrators besides just the superintendent.
So I'll go ahead and say what I think, but I don't want to sway anybody else. I am not in favor of changing this policy because, like I said, now we're in a position where I don't think this would be an issue, but I can't predict that it never will be an issue. Also, while you can go up the chain, right? And we are at the 10,000 foot level. That's where we're supposed to be, right? The board is up here. And then it's a superintendent. Then we have our administrators, teachers, paras, custodian, everybody. We are up there, regardless of, Andy is our employee and our only evaluated employee. But I do think that there is a responsibility for us to maintain no wiggle room. It puts us in a precarious situation. And I just want everybody to think about that before we change it. Because if my son or my grandma was working, in a school and I'm here chair of the Board of Ed, I mean, things could get, put me in a difficult position as chair, could put the superintendent or the principal, whomever is the supervisor, in a funny situation if they have to come to me to tell me that there's a discipline issue or there is a ethical issue or something like that. So as chair, I would feel uncomfortable with it. Also, we did have the discussion of substitutes, and maybe there is wiggle room to allow substitutes because they're not involved in any contracts. We are involved in all the negotiations, we're involved in all the budgets, budget developments. So I think as much as we think we're removed, we're actually involved in every little nitty-gritty piece to an extent, if that makes any sense. I totally just didn't make that point accurately, but Brian, go ahead.
So I think what you're alluding to, Sarah, a lot of ethics rules will say in both appearance and fact that you are removed from both, in both appearance and fact from, and nepotism is a great one, to use as an example, to that point, and if the board so felt that we should stay above the fray, so to speak, for lack of a, better term, in appearance and in fact, then I absolutely agree with you, then we should just stay out of it and leave it alone. Because so I only brought this up, and I am the one that brought this forward initially, because it was just spitballing and an outside idea for substitutes. So, Danelle had planted the seed in my head a couple of months ago, and it just got me thinking about staffing issues in general. So that's where it came from. It wasn't really necessarily from any other place other than just try to fill a staffing need. But you're certainly right that we are involved in all of it. Thanks.
Thank you, Maureen.
We're involved in all of it except for the substitutes, because they have a particular amount that we have in our policy that they will get paid, and if they're there longer, they get more, but we have nothing to do with them. So we could make an amendment that would cover that.
Nicole?
I think we're getting into some different times here, and let's look at it this way. You had 2 schools that have no nurses, and that's scary to me, because we really rely on our nurses. But we're a district that doesn't pay very high, and so most people will be looking at other districts because they want higher pay. So if you had a brother or a sister-in-law or someone that was qualified for that job and wanted to work in Lebanon because they want to be, close to the family, you're going to deny them? So I'm looking at it that way. Like, we could get into some very dangerous situations if we don't. And as a Board of Ed member, first of all, I don't think of myself way up there and all the teachers down here. I'd like to think that I'm like working with them. I would take myself out of, like, if there was like some sort of a hearing that involved like their work ethic, I would take myself out of that so that way it would be fair. But I worry about the teacher shortage, the nurse shortage. Now we've got some secretaries leaving. It's scary to me. And I would like to just have as many opportunities for anyone to have those jobs. And this, to me, doesn't seem like it's worth it.
I used a bad analogy and you pointed that out, so thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I didn't mean to say that we're here and teachers are here. If anybody knows me, that's not what I meant. But considering I am a teacher.
Yes, yes.
But my point was 10,000 foot view, right? Then Andy's got his eye on the buildings, everything, but when it comes to curriculum decisions, we have a curriculum subcommittee. When it comes to negotiations, we have a negotiate enrollment, budget. That's huge. Where's the money going? So, thank you for helping me clarify that. Anybody else? Go ahead, Danelle.
So, I think Maureen's suggestion to take the substitutes out of the mix is one solution, because even though there is a negotiating for their salary, I'll say what I said before, that person who's related could abstain from the vote, which I think would be totally appropriate. My problem is the definition of nepotism, and I said this at the committee meeting, and I'm going to read it again. Nepotism is the practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives or friends, especially by giving them jobs. So, to me, the words influence or favor a relative or a friend, we don't have the word friend in our policy. And to me, I could have a best friend hired here, and I want them to make a lot of money, just as much as I could want my spouse or my child to work here. So, family, relative, or best friend, to me, that's the same thing. You're talking about, we possibly had a nurse available, so Maureen's suggestion to just add subs, I understand your point too, that to me, you're actually discriminating against the family members because you're related.
Yeah.
And if you take the family word out and say friend, if someone is qualified, they should be able to work here. And if I have to be involved in their negotiation or something to do with their contract, I would abstain from it. Now, the overall budget, I think that's kind of like talking way big picture, as opposed to, I'm going to try to see if you can get the science teachers to get a bigger salary because my family member or my best friend is in the science department. That's where it gets like, now we're talking about little nitty-gritty technicalities that obviously would be glaringly problematic for a board member. So to me, I would like to change this policy because of the shortage, and also because I just don't think it's fair that if someone's qualified, they can't work here because we're on the board. As I said in the committee, well then if my son or daughter was applying for a job here, fully qualified, we needed them to work here, then my only solution would be for me to quit the board because this policy doesn't allow us to work together. So I would like to change it.
Dawn?
I have not totally digested because I'm used to committees coming with a recommendation, not us as a board hashing things out. I agree with your point about friends because, I mean, we're friends with everybody. But we are friends with people who get here. But if we're going to use words like they're being discriminated against, then I would also like to echo the last part that you just said. If you feel that a family member is highly qualified and wants to apply, then maybe the policy should be, I need to step off the board while they're in the process of being hired. If they get hired, this is how it was on like another board that I was on, but if they get hired, then I will resign from the board. If I feel that strongly that my family member should be hired, I will resign from the board. I mean, I love working for the board, but I want them to make money. So I think I don't know, it feels like a slippery slope to me.
And thank you for pointing that out also, because obviously policy committee would come with a recommendation. It was just that the conversation was so, we felt we needed more opinions and more input to even decide if we change it or move forward with amending it.
It really affected everybody on the board, and it didn't seem fair to not get everybody on the boards, at least 2 cents if they wanted to give it, so.
Have we asked, shouldn't we give them?
Well, this is their model policy.
This is the...
Yeah.
Since in 21.
Right, this is 2021.
Right.
It's not a state statute. You're asking about that. Not really. It's a policy, we revised it last summer as our own Lebanon policy, but it's not a state statute that you have to have a policy.
What are your feelings on all this? And you're the one who does the hiring and firing and all that.
Yeah, so I was going to point out that when, I did my research and there's no state statute prohibiting, it is a Board of Education decision. I, first and foremost, would not want to be in a position where I'm looking to hire my own family, so I definitely think if it were going to be revised, that we keep it that way, although as my kids age, we could reduce the staff shortage with the number of children that I have. However, I agree with kind of both sides of the argument here. It's a tough one to get into. Obviously, I would support what the board wants. We are struggling to get staff. We're not just struggling to get subs. We're struggling to get staff in unaffiliated positions. We're struggling to get staff in certified positions. So it's a struggle across the board. So if something like this opened up the door to have a few more qualified employees, I think it's great. I think it would require a lot of thoughtful planning on my behalf to make sure that people who are on hiring committees are carefully selected, that positions, they're not put in a place where they would have any supervisory role, possibly in separate buildings if we went down the role of lifting the district level administrator, because again, that just multiplies the number of people who might be available. So if we don't lift this, we'll continue to be creative in how we're bringing in staff and do the very best we can. If we do lift it or change it, I would follow it to the letter.
So
still trying to digest a lot of what's happening, but my initial reaction is, I agree it's a slippery slope. I would not be comfortable with my family members being here, only because we are a small district. And even if somebody else is on the hiring committee and they know that it's my son, that is still going to be in someone's mind. You cannot get it out. Oh, well, she's the you just can't get it out. I would have a hard time getting that out of my mind. And we are small, we are close-knit, we pride ourselves on being a close committee. You're gonna know, everyone knows what's happening before it even happens in this town. So I would not be in favor of removing this policy because of my own comfort level of having my own family being here.
Nicole?
But there are family members that work in this school system together. There's people that are all related that are working. I mean, it's a small community, but just to piggyback on Dawn's comment about removing yourself from the Board of Ed, but what if you're a really good Board of Ed member and this town needs you, to fight for their battles and stuff? You're going to remove yourself just so your family member could have a job? I think that we could just all be in harmony together. Like, you can have the Board of Ed members doing their job, you can have the teachers doing their job, and the secretaries doing their job, and then somebody else could be evaluating them. It's not necessarily us. We could remove ourselves from an evaluative process and just have everyone working together here, because we all know what our roles are, and we're not going to overstep and say, yeah, that's my brother over there, so you better treat him good. Like, if he's doing a good job, he stays. If he doesn't do a good job, he leaves, and everyone should understand that. So,
Maureen? Oh, sorry.
Well, it's obvious that we brought this to the board because we knew that this was going to be a big issue. I think we should take it back to another policy subcommittee meeting. If anybody has any more opinions they want to give us, they can let us know, and we will look at it one more time and have a recommendation to the board either way.
Could we also, in the meantime, bring back, see if Shipman has an even
Right,
more
and see if CABE has something.
policy? Thanks.
There's all,
Districts must be doing something.
yeah, I know of a school district that a leader has an immediate family member, and I know they went through this process and did the hire, so maybe I can try to contact them and get to see if they have a different.
Thanks.
Because we could talk for the next hour and a half about this and not
get nowhere.
Thank you for your opinions.
Thank you. All right, then we have 3 action items. Act on matter of retirement.
motion to accept. You want to go, Brian? Go ahead.
I was going to.
Motion to accept the letters of retirement and resignation with regret.
Okay, motion by Nicole, seconded by Brian. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Action item number 3.
I make a motion that we take the painting project money of $2,588.61 from non-lapsing. Is that what I was supposed to say?
Yes, thanks, Maureen.
I'll second.
Motion by Maureen, seconded by John. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. Any items for the next agenda? Yes.
I don't have an item for the next agenda, but I would ask if we could have like a quick 5-minute meeting after this meeting to discuss some stuff that we want to talk about from negotiations.
Okay. All right.
I do have a meeting. Could we go into executive session to discuss Superintendent Gonzalez's goals for the 2022-2023 school year?
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Great, thank you very much, everybody. We will adjourn at 9:33. And we'll just give Chuck a few minutes to just...
Use the voice.